back for another workshop, and this time we'll work on a scale that'll be the foundation for a lot of what we'll work on early on, the C major scale. We'll start connecting hand positions and traveling up and down the keyboard, and we'll start training our ear by picking out the melody of a familiar tune. We'll also start working on the concept of intervals between notes and within a chord. Let's start with a 5-finger exercise for the right hand, and this time we'll be alternating pitches. So let's go back to that position with our thumb on middle C and these 4 notes above it. And this time we'll play a pattern that goes like this. Alternating pitches. So the fingers on this will be 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 5, 2, 4, and then that same sequence again, 1, 3, 2, 4, 3, 5, 2, 4, 1, 3, 1. Let's try that together slowly. I'll count us in and we'll play it together. 1, 2, 3, 4. And raise your fingers a little bit as you play these notes. Now let's work on the C major scale. And remember our nugget about this scale, which was you can play a major scale from any note by using the combination of steps, 2 whole steps and a half step, and then 3 whole steps and a half step. And remember that the whole step is a distance between 2 adjacent white notes with a black note in between. So if we start on C, a whole step is to the D just above that C. Now when we start working on black keys, we'll find the same kind of relationships, a whole step from one black key to the one just above it. But right now we'll just focus on the white notes. Also remember that a half step is a distance between a white note and a black note, for example, C to the black note just above it, or between 2 white notes if there's no black note in between. So when we go from E to F, that's a half step, and when we go from B to C, that's also a half step. So let's check out the fingering for the C major scale. We're going to start with, on the note C, fingers 1, 2, 3, and then we cross the thumb under, and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, finishing up on 5 if we're playing 1 octave, and then coming back down, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then crossing over the thumb with the 3rd finger, 3, 2, 1. And remember this nugget about crossing the thumb over and under, which is this. Moving to new hand positions involves the thumb crossing under the fingers when going up, which is also called ascending, or it involves the fingers crossing over the thumb when going down, also called descending. Let's try the C major scale slowly, 1 note per beat, and I'll count us in and we'll play it together. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we cross under. And then we cross over the thumb. Let's try that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to start using the metronome in these practice sessions. So let's try that C major scale, and I've got the metronome set to 60 beats a minute. Let's see if we can play that same scale and stay with the metronome. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's work on the concept of intervals. And remember that the distance from one note to another is called an interval. So let's name the intervals from C to each note of the C major scale. So from C to D, the interval is a second. From C to the next note up, which is E, is a third. From C to the following note up is a fourth, and that's an F. And then from C to the next note, which is G, is a fifth. And then from C to the next note up the C major scale, which is an A, is the interval of a sixth. And then the interval from C to B is the interval of a seventh. And then finally we've got C going up to C an octave above, which is just called an octave. So let's get some more practice playing along with the metronome. We'll be at 80 beats a minute. We're going to play When the Saints Go Marching In. I'll count us in and we'll play it together. 1, 2, 3. Rest, rest. Rest, rest. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. Don't forget to play this song along with the Play Along CD whenever you get a chance. Now let's review the intervals of the chords C, F, and G. Starting on a C chord. On the C we have root, and then the third, and then the fifth. So let's check out an F major triad and name the intervals that are contained in those three notes of the F triad. The F is the root, A is the third, and the C is the fifth of the chord. Now let's go to a G triad and see if you can name the intervals of the chord. The G would be the root, the middle note, B, would be the third, and the top note, D, would be the fifth of the chord. Now let's go back to a C triad. Major triads are always made up of the root, third, and the fifth. And down the way we'll be using chords that have the second and the sixth and the seventh, as well as other tones. But right now we're just dealing with root and third and fifth. So let's get some ear training practice hearing the difference between the root, third, and the fifth on a chord. Let's take a C chord and see if you can name the pitches that I'm playing in terms of their relationship to the chord. Here's the first pitch on a C chord. That's the root. Now I'll play another pitch. That's the third. And then another. That's the fifth. Now we're going to learn a new progression using the three triads that we've learned, C, F, and G. This time it'll be G for 2 beats, F for 2 beats, and then C for 4 beats. And then the same thing repeated, G for 2 beats, F for 2 beats, and C for 4 beats. I'll count us in and let's play it together with just the right hand for now. 1, 2, 3, 4. G, F, C, 2, 3, 4. G, F, C, 2, 3, 4. G, F, C, 2, 3. And one more time. G, F, C. Now let's add the left hand, and our 3 left hand notes will be G here with the thumb, F with the second finger, and C with the pinky finger. So let's try the progression again 4 times using these bass notes along with our right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. G, F, C, 2, 3, 4. G, F, C, 2, 3, 4. G and F and C. And one more time. G, F, C. So now let's try that progression again, this time with some rhythm in it. We're going to play a little bit of a reggae rhythm on this. So it'll sound like this. 2, 3, 4. G, F, C. G, F, C. The rhythm we're playing is 2 short notes followed by 1 note, and then the same thing on the other chords. And the second note of those 2 notes played together needs to be short. So let's try playing that progression together with that rhythm in the right hand. I'll play a little left hand bass line, and the metronome's at 64 beats a minute. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we know the first 2 phrases of Joy to the World that go like this. That's phrase 1. Here's phrase 2. Let's try to learn the other phrases of this melody, phrase by phrase. I'll play the phrase and then you try to pick out the notes, and then we'll go over what they actually are. So here's the 3rd phrase of Joy to the World. Now you try to pick those notes out. Here's what the notes actually are. We start up on a C that repeats, and then we go down the scale, keep going down the scale, and then we repeat the G, and then go down the scale to E. So once again, that 3rd phrase, C, C, B, A, G, G, F, E. So this 4th phrase of Joy to the World is an exact repetition of the one we just learned, so we know that one already. And then the 5th phrase starts where the 4th one left off on this E. Now see if you can hear and find the notes of this phrase. So that's E 5 times in a row. 2, 3, 4, 5, and then F and G. And then the 6th phrase starts a step down from there, and it goes like this. See if you can pick those notes out. We've got F, E, D 4 times, and then E and F again. So that phrase one more time. And then the final long phrase starts on E and goes like this. See if you can pick the notes out after I play it. That phrase is a little bit longer and trickier than the other ones because there's that big leap in the middle of it. which is actually an octave. So let's go over the notes of that phrase and see if you got them right. It starts on an E, going down the scale, E, D, C, up to the C an octave above, down to A, G, and then down the scale to E, F, E, D, C. So the whole last phrase, and you want to finger it like this: 3, 2, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, and then cross over to 2. So now let's try the whole tune. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Two, three. 2, 3. In this way, you can pick out any melody that's in your ear or that you can hear by slowly breaking it down by phrase and then by learning how to use the fingers on that phrase. You can also play this tune with the Play Along CD. I use the melody of Joy to the World to represent the descending C major scale because most of us know what that melody sounds like. What we're trying to do is establish a connection between the melodies that we hear and how to play them on the piano. So now we're going to practice our first broken up chord progression, which is going to sound like this. Let's start with the right hand. We're going to use that chord that we learned before, only now we're going to be breaking it up between these top two notes and this bottom note. And then we do the same thing for the second chord and the third chord. Let's try that slowly together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the second chord and the third chord, and we're back to the first chord, the second chord, and the third chord, and then we resolve it. So now let's add the left hand to that progression. Remember, the two left hand notes are C, an octave below middle C, with the first finger of the left hand, and then the F below it twice, with the fifth finger of the left hand. I'll count us in and let's play it together. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is another progression you'll want to play with the tracks on the Play Along CD. So that does it for another session, and you're ready to move on when you can play a C major scale up and down with the correct fingering with a steady pulse, when you can name the intervals from C to the other notes in the C major scale, when you can name the intervals of the chord tones of the C, F, and G triad while playing the chords, and when you can play that first broken up chord progression. When you're experimenting at the keyboard, try picking out melodies that you know, and you'll begin to develop your ear for intervals and rhythms. Keep practicing that C major scale. It'll be a building block for your understanding of chords and how they fit together. And I'll see you next time.